Howdy y'all, TheJTJ here, rolltowound.com. We're doing another Soulblight Gravelords Warscroll review. Today we'll be looking at the Wight Kings. So, stick around. Alright, jumping in, we've made it down to the Wight Kings in the book. And let's check out their Warscroll. We're going to start on the foot one first. 4-inch move, 5 wounds, 3 up save, 10 bravery. As far as a weapon, they have a baleful toon blade, 1-inch range, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 D3. They have an ability, Beheading Strike. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by this model's baleful toon blade is a 6, that target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. Command ability, Lord of Bones. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, but it has been FAQ'd, and then I'll talk about the changes. You can use this command ability in the hero phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Death Rattle unit wholly within 12 of this model, and to the end of that phase, you can reroll hit rolls of 1s for attacks made with melee weapons by that unit. When the book came out, everybody was flipping tables. This is the most useless command ability ever. They did FAQ it, and it is at the start of combat phase. So you can put that on a unit at the start of combat. Keywords: Death, Soulblight Gravelords, Death Rattle, Hero, and Wight King. Alright, coming in at a cost of 115. Notes: it is a Death Rattle and Hero, so all of the Death Rattle abilities do work on the Wight King. So for a max wound output is 12 plus 4 mortal wounds. So if everything ran perfectly, you could put out 16 wounds to something. The average wound output is closer to 3, and thoughts it's okay damage, but the D3 makes him a little swingy. And if you can look at the chart over here, you can see that against a 4-up save, you're on average 3 wounds, and that's including when you do roll the mortals. So not a ton of damage output, not horrible, but you just can't really depend on this guy to do anything in close combat all the time. The good, he's a 3+ save, Death Rattle keyword, so that sparks off a lot of stuff. Graveguard as battle line if he's the general. So, that's one of the big things why you would take a Wight King is to bring the Graveguard as battle line if that was how you were wanting to construct your list. He's a cheap hero and he's okay in close combat. The bad is slow and 5 wounds. The 3-up save is nice, but with only 5 wounds, not so awesome. Command ability is not bad. Wish it was a bit better. It's just the reroll ones. It's not a horrible command ability, but now it's the start of combat, and it seems like there's so many other things that I would rather be putting on my block of Graveguard or skeletons. Now, obviously, if you had a bunch of CPs to go around and you have 2 or 3 units of things, you can put, an all-out defense or one all-out attack. You can, Vampire Lord, give them the extra attack. But just seeing how this is just reroll ones, not the greatest thing. But it's not horrible. Great thematic hero. I think I love this model. It's specifically the one in the picture I've always really liked. It's a really cool model. I think that the whole idea of having just Wight Kings and Death Rattle marching across the field is really, really entertaining to me. So I love the thematic part of that. But generally, all around, he's okay, but he's nothing great. If you're just looking at his Warscroll, you're going, okay, it's not straight garbage, but it's nothing that I'm getting out of bed for. The price of him is solid for a 3-up save hero. So if you're looking and you're like, hey, I might need an extra hero in my army or something a little bit more survival, not bad, especially if you're going to stash a relic on him or something like that. Can dish out some good damage if you roll good. If you spiked your rolls, he can do okay. But if you don't, you're going to be looking at 1-2 wounds going through. If you want battle line Graveguard, you need this guy. For 25 points more, you get a Vampire Lord. Better bang for your buck. That's honestly the way I feel. If you're not taking him to stash an artifact behind the lines, you're just out of points. You can't afford a Vampire. I think that pretty much almost every measurable metric, the Vampire Lord is a better take. He's so slow, and you'll need to run him to keep up, because not only is he just a slow move anyway, you would say, well, all Death Rattle are slow. Yeah, but those Death Rattle also are going to be charging, and they're going to get their normal move plus more. Your zombies are going to be running every turn anyway. So just him keeping up, he's just going to be running, 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 and hopefully is able to keep up. Unit rating B, there's not much to hate about him, but not much to like. His command ability is okay, but could be so much better. I would just say, hey, just give him a reroll all fails. That would be something where you'd go, oh, this might be worth taking, might be worth spending. While not the worst hero in the game, there are several more that would be better for a few points more. All that said, if you want to run Graveguard as battle line, you need him. So I really think that there are better options in the book. It's according to what you're wanting to do. He's not that bad. He's pretty survivable and very cheap. So if you're just needing an extra hero, maybe to go sit on objectives, help babysit a small unit or something, it's not horrible. He's not horrible to take. Moving on to Wight King on Skeletal Steed. So pretty similar. Few changes though. He got a 7 wounds, 12-inch move, 3 up save, 10 bravery. He comes with a Tomb Lance, which is 2-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, minus 1d3. Hooves and teeth, 1-inch, 2 attacks, 4s, 4s, and 1 damage. His ability is a deathly charge. After this model makes a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this model and roll a dice. On a 2-up, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So what he's missing from the Foot King, he's making up with his charge. So if you're charging every turn or able to, he'll, at the end of the game, net you more damage. But if he's locked in combat, the Wight King would net you more damage. You can use command ability. Lord of Bones, and it's the same as the other one. It has been FAQ too. So just like I talked about the Foot Wight King, same thing with him. Death, Soulblight Gravelords, Death Rattle Hero, Wight King on Skeletal Steed. All right, coming in at a cost of 130 points. He's a Death Rattle and he's a hero. Let's look at some damage. His max wound output is 11. And plus the 3, plus 3 mortal wounds on the charge. So looking at around 14 damage to a unit he charges into if everything went perfectly. His average wound output is around 2, a little bit less than the Foot Wight King. That's not taking into consideration those 3 mortal wounds from the charge, so you could add 2 to that, so probably would be 4. Low average damage is made up for the 3 mortal wounds on the charge. So if he's charging every turn, he's going to net you, like I said, more than the Foot Wight King. But at the end of the day, it's still nothing to write home about unless you're just trying to clear chaff off of an objective or something. The good Death Rattle, Graveguard, and Battle Line, if the general, because he does have the Wight King keyword. So he has Wight King on Skeletal Steed and Wight King. Keep that in mind. He's a cheap hero. Okay in close combat, a little bit worse than the Foot Wight King, but still it's not a necromancer. More wounds than a Foot Wight King. That's a big one. He's 2 extra wounds and a 12-inch move. Beautiful. The bad, command ability could be better. Does not hit that hard. On the charge, it's okay. In combat, not doing much for you there. Thoughts: better movement and survivability than a foot version. Keeps up with your knights and wolves. All right, unit rating. I'm going to give him a B+, just because I think he's a little bit better than the Foot King. So I gave the Foot a B. They're pretty comparable in a lot of ways, but just because of his extra wound and his movement, he'll get the bonuses. A few more uses than a Foot Wight King, however, still nothing to write home about. Use him as a cheap mobile hero to support your fast moving units. I honestly think that a lot of lists can use a Wight King to help out, support and just be fast and mobile and, go support the guys that are actually doing the damage. Let's look at buffs. Legion of Blood favored retainers. Ignore the negative modifier if you're within range of vampire heroes, which is really good on a 3-up save, obviously. Legion of Night, it's +1 to save in the first round from the bait. So first turn, you're not having to spend a CP; you're automatically getting it. The Vicros, the Strength of the Pack, is +1 to wound, and both of these guys would be wounding on pretty much a 2. So That's solid. Watch Captain Hallgrim, Discipline Advance. You can use that ability on these guys as well for the 4-inch run, the auto run 4 inches. There's many ways to buff these guys. However, all of these things like that would be one-off buffs that would be unit specific. I honestly wouldn't really waste it on these guys. You should be using it on your big blocks of death rattle, on your blood knights, on your block of 20 Graveguard that's actually going to do the work. So I didn't really include the breakdown of the entire book because let's be honest, if you've got a choice to give something an extra attack, are you going to give it to these guys or are you going to give it to your giant blob of, Graveguard that are actually going to go out there and be able to use it to its fullest potential? So once again, these things, they sort of get passively. There's plenty of ways to make these guys slightly better in the game. All right, who is better? The Foot Wight King is a bit better in sustained melee. However, you really don't want to use either of them this way. They can take out weak units and their high armor will keep them alive for a bit when not focused. So can they do some combat damage? Yes. Do you want to run them into the middle of the enemy's Death Star? No, they're going to melt. Clip an edge, pick and choose your targets. You see that a lot in this book where some things you need to make sure you're attacking the right thing at the right time in the right way. This is no different with these guys. In fact, the Foot Wight King, I'd probably just try to keep him out of combat altogether. With the Skeletal Steed, yeah, if he's running with your cavalry and you can clip an edge or something and get an extra attack into them, and maybe the pile in, they're not able to pile in to get a lot of damage back to him, I think it's a good use for him. However, the primary use is to be a hero and do hero things, like be there to give commands out, be there to hold an objective if you need it, any kind of buffs or bringing back models. That's what these guys are going to be there for. Great for putting an artifact. If you're running a bunch of named characters and you have nothing to put an artifact on or your command ability, these guys are great carriers for that because they're going to sit back behind your line most of the time or run around and support your units anyway. All that said, pay the 15 points, take the one with the steed. It's just better in almost every way. Even if you're deciding, hey, I don't have fast units, I just need something to sit back behind my line and buff my units, I still think taking the Wight King on a steed's a little bit better. With a 12-inch move, he can, if your forces sort of get spread out and turn 3 or 4, he can run around and support them. If there's an objective that needs to be grabbed, he might be the fastest thing in your list, depending on how you build it. So I just think bringing him is the way to go. With all that said, in the comments, let me know, guys, what you think about the Wight King. Which one's better? Which one has the best uses? What artifacts do you put on? What tactics how do you buff them? What do you use them for? Are you even taking one of these guys? So let me know. And as always, thanks for watching, and y'all be good.